1,111. 1111. Yep. 1,000. And it's exactly 11 o'clock. Wow. Uh, I think that's a sign. That's a sign. Um, who knows what that means, but I'll take all blessings in this case. And thank God for friends. Thank God for family. Thank you so much, everyone, for sticking with us for 1,111 days. 1111 at exactly 11 o'clock. Um, what does that mean? There has to be something in numerology that tells us what that means. Um, because, we've just broken through the sound barrier. I believe we have, but we're verifying. We have to verify what we have discovered because Richard went missing July 23rd, 2020. Um, and he didn't just go missing from the barracks there at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. Something happened, and we have been fighting like hell. Isn't that what they don't like Trump saying that, and I don't really say that so much in my day-to-day life, but I think in this instance we need to fight like hell because we're up against some really cold blooded cold-blooded creatures. Okay. um, they are just heartless, cold-blooded creatures and self-serving, heartless, cold-blooded creatures. Absolutely. And they might have loyalties with each other, and that's what it seems like. But you know, that's um, that's always conditional, and people don't like hearing that because you cannot um, be loyal to someone that is engaged in the destruction of children, engaged in the destruction of their own children, um, sexual assault, sexual assault, forcing others to engage in sexual assault. That Leilani Hart's notarized criminal complaint affidavit is shocking in so many ways because not that I believe everything is true, so that means that some of it, because I've been trying to verify it, um, is false information. So, where are the arrests? Where, um, because this is a CID and FBI report. We have the CID and the FBI number. That doesn't even, we don't even have Richard's CID number. We don't have our complaints number. Only a very privileged person with connections within those agencies would, very connected, would receive their CID and FBI numbers of their notarized criminal complaint affidavit. So we're talking about how how are these people connected that they have this kind of privilege? We definitely understand how Hunter Biden has privilege, right? We definitely understand how Joe Biden has privilege. We understand how they get away with this criminal syndicate family. We understand that. But what connections does Leilani Hart have in order to get her CID and FBI numbers? Is it from Tavita Nusa? Is it from Marlon Soto? What is going on in the CID Fort Bliss that she has pulled because there and we've asked the El Paso Police Department because we have intel coming out of Fort Bliss that said that she was bragging, that she was boasting, that she was controlling the CID at Fort Bliss, and that somebody put in a complaint to the El Paso Police Department about it. And we have like an open records request. We have a request about that. And it's, silence. Where, where is all this privilege coming from? And we know that James Hart is very privileged because he's there at the VA. All of these allegations are made against him. And the CID personally calls him and to let him know where he stands in the case. That never happens unless you're privileged. Where is this privilege coming from? Where is this connection coming from? Was it Tavita Nusa? Was it Marlon Soto? I think he told me it was Marlon Soto that called him. So is Tavita Nusa and Marlon Soto best buddies? What is happening in this Fort Bliss CID office? What is happening? And it seems to be very criminal. Very criminal. And so I'm going to uh, read to you. Okay, so you have I need to keep on track. You have Let me make sure that I'm on. Let me go on Facebook before I get started on all the really big news that the intel is giving us. Thank you so much. I hear myself. Everybody, thank you so much. And I can see your questions now. If you want to ask a question, if you want to leave a message, that really helps. It always helps. So, because we need to pull everybody's talents and experiences together to help us through this investigation of our son. Okay, let's get started. 1,111 days today since Richard vanished from the barracks room. He didn't just vanish from Fort Bliss. Something happened. And we're talking about the privilege just by the conflicts of interest. There seems to be like an open marriage going on in the Hart family, and maybe even bigamy, because in our intel that we have gotten, Leilani Hart was trying to put complaints against her husband for bigamy. And I don't know. I don't know. That is just something that we're hearing. But what really concerns me is just another instance of unethical behavior on our military post. And we don't forget, we have Thomas Cain saying that Fort Bliss, under this command and the previous command, so maybe even the previous one of that too, are outside of the law. They conduct themselves outside of the law, and we see that definitely. And they retaliated against a key witness in Richard's case, yet they did not secure Park University, which is on Fort Bliss, from the continuous false allegations made by Leilani Hart to destroy people. And we understand that because of the constant retaliation that we have had to suffer through, just because we ask a very simple question: where's Richard? Where's Richard? And we look into it. And because we're looking into it, we've had to suffer retaliation and more. And so this is all being documented. This is all documented because remember, from the very beginning, I wanted to write a book, and I haven't been able to totally complete the book because this is an ongoing investigation at an extremely fast rate. So fast. And you might think, wait a minute, it's 1,111 days. Well, if you, the fast rate is not by the agencies, right? It's by just that we have gotten this far is amazing. Is amazing. Um, it knocks your socks off to from the beginning. If you from them not even notifying us that our son was missing, and all of the lies, the continued lies, the retaliation, the military operations used against us, numerous. Um, the I just can't even tell you everything that has happened, but those that have followed this absolutely understand what we have been through. So we're moving um, at a fast rate for a family that does not have a staff, that is not $1 trillion organization, that does not have any experience in investigative work, in doing media, in reaching out, getting FOIAs. All of that had to be learned because that was not our life. We never had to do all of the letter writing. Thank God we have some help right now. All of the FOIAs, all of the rallies. I never had done that before. And so we are learning. This is like a PhD in investigative or advocating for your murdered, um, I should say, retaliated against, tortured, murdered son, right? And the amount of emotions that you have to set aside in order to do this um, is really, really amazing. Uh, I remember when we had the search for Richard's remains in Mexico, and Hannah was here, and we did a live stream. And I told her after that live stream, I said, "Don't, not again, not again. I'm not putting you through this because it was just so emotional. It's been just a roller coaster ride, especially when you are, trying to raise children. That's your baby brother. Um, you see your own children, and you just can't even imagine the likes of James Hart sexually assaulting a 7-year-old in Leilani Hart's master bedroom by multiple members of the household, and forcing his sons upon each other, forcing that kind of culture in his own household. And do I believe it all? Um, I believe a lot of it. I believe a lot of it. Because why would Leilani Hart write such a thing and have it notarized, knowing all the risks, even with her privileges, on the 22nd of July, 2020, the day before Richard went missing? What was Richard going to report, right? What was he going to report? Because a journal is involved in all of this. A journal is involved. And of course, the journal wasn't with his things. And we know that he reported to the CPS We know that he made reports to CID. We know this. And things get really, uh, let's just say the only thing that comes into my mind is that we have gone through a sound barrier, right? We've gone through a sound barrier, sounds of silence to, uh, getting this intel out of Fort Bliss. That is, and what's going on Park University, um, and through all of the many, 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 many letters that we have sent out, the intel coming in, the witnesses coming in, and the information is mind blowing. Um, and I don't know, the image that comes into my mind is a jet, going through these sound barriers, right? Until it reaches um, its its goal, a certain speed, a goal. Um, what sound barrier did we break? Well, one, that of silence, right? Because now we have an alliance within Fort Bliss. We have Intel now. And so that has been a great, great help. That's um, giving us uh, the wherewithal. We put up the evidence that we have been warning everybody that we had. We've been putting up that evidence. And we also received a letter from the former DES, but at the just recently retired. So during the whole time of Richard's time there and this investigation, Thomas Cain, who has many hats, okay? He is the chief of security of Fort Bliss, the DES, the director of emergency services, okay? He has control over all of the surveillance videos. He has control over, all of the gates, all of the guards at the gates. And he also is the one that gives the passes to come in and out of Fort Bliss, and more, and more. So he knows the tunnels. Okay, we know that he knows the tunnels, um, and that is a very real thing. Nothing to make fun of. And tunnels are used for many different purposes, and sometimes nefarious purposes. And that is not far reaching. That is not crazy of us to say it. There, everyone knows. And when we were there doing our rallies, people were telling us, there's tunnels, there's tunnels. So there's, it's well known fact. It's a well known fact. So if I know it and so many other people know it, Thomas Cain knows it. And with him saying that Fort Bliss is out, running itself outside of the law, that's and there's real problems there. That is a big problem. And so in that situation, he finds it okay. He finds it okay, instead of trying to restrain the evil going on because of the command working outside of the law, but he finds it okay to work at Park University and be, this is a conflict of interest to me, to be under Anna Whitehead, who is the academic director for um, Fort Bliss Park University. And so, he wants his job, right? He wants his job there, but yet he is commissioned to secure Fort Bliss. And we know for a fact that Leilani Hart was making all of these major complaints um, about a judge against a judge, a female judge, Michelle Morales, and her husband, attorney Leonard Morales, against the regional director of Park University, John Stewart, against a female professor that even lost her job, and Leilani Hart. We have the request in. Um, did Anna White report this to Thomas Cain, the acting DES? Did she report this to the commander, which would be Lieutenant General Bernabe, right? At the time. And that, if she didn't, that is breaking a federal law as I have understood it. Because when you are getting federal funds and you are using federally funded buildings that you don't have to pay taxes on, that you don't have to pay upkeep on, that you don't have to pay air condition for, what is your job there? What is the covenant? Okay, you can use our buildings, you can use our services, you can use our security, you can be here on Fort Bliss and make money because it's all about that, right? They would say, oh, it's about education, but y'all, number one, it's about money, and you can do that, but what is the covenant? What is the deal here? And it is to give a quality education to the soldiers and also to keep the soldiers safe in Park University campus, right? That is the main job. And so when you have your faculty being attacked like this, right, and the morale being brought down low because of these attacks, that has to be reported. And it's a federal law. And so you can't ignore it. And Thomas Cain, he has no excuses because he was at the campus. He was being a teacher, right? Part of the faculty. And Anna White is supposed to be telling him, but she's also his boss. You see, there's a lot of conflict there. So Anna White doesn't. I don't know. We'll see what the letter says. But Thomas Cain has no excuse because he knew what was going on Park University. He absolutely knew. And yet he did not deny Leilani Hart access to Fort Bliss to secure Park University and Fort Bliss, right? And it's the same thing with James Hart because he's at the VA. He's at the VA there. He gets to, be on that board. Does he lead that board to determine who gets disability and who doesn't? That is a huge, powerful, very powerful job. And you can blackmail people very easy with that or buy people out very easy with that. And, so why are they so privileged? Why do they get the run of the show and get to brag that they are ruling CID office? Now, this is really important because of the new information that has come out about Richard. And I try to stay really calm. This is one of the hardest things to stay really calm about. I feel like this is hitting another sound barrier going through it because it changes the entire dynamics of this case. Yet, I give it a lot of weight because it fits Richard, what we know what was going on, our records. We absolutely know that this is possible, and we have done a lot of research since we've heard it. just to make sure that it is possible. We've contacted Park University now for Richard's records. We have 2 requests in there for records. We might send one out in the mail again tomorrow just to cover it. 3 requests, because um, uh, the world that we live in, and also this case. This case has been like a taboo for so many. Why? Well, this makes sense, doesn't it? This makes sense. And if you've read my post that I posted today, you know what I'm talking about. So let me just read it. I have it in front of me, and I just want to let everyone know that Richard at a young age, okay, uh, he was so fascinated. He loved stones. Remember, I told everyone that he would use a hammer and bang stones open, especially there at Drumroe and in the Midlands of Ireland. And he would search for anything glistening, anything great. And I should even wear the necklace. I'm going to wear um, a necklace that he gave me. He had just exquisite taste, gave the greatest gifts, and he loved investigation, and he loved law, law enforcement. He loved private investigation. I've mentioned this many, many times. I even talked to Marlon Soto, the special agent in charge of this case. Many times I told him that Richard, you know, and we even have it documented that Richard, as soon as he got to Fort Bliss, inquired on how to be a criminal uh, investigator, right? He wanted to be a CID agent. That's what he wanted to be, and he did that right away. And we also know that he took courses to go to that to go towards being a criminal investigative special agent, right? So he even talked about being an interpreter because he did have language skills, foreign language skills. And so he was thinking, oh, maybe he can go to interrogator school. So interrogating, criminal investigative division. Um, he never really mentioned FBI, but he wanted to get into law enforcement. And so I wrote, he loved Sherlock Holmes. He loved Jackie Chan's thrilling missions. I loved it too. Um, Daring escapades of the Mission Impossible, 007, um, of course, Columbo and the Mentalist, the Equalizer. Um, and then in the TV show Psych, I liked Psych too. I watched that with him. He loved that. That was like one of his personal favorites. And Burn Notice, Elementary, we liked that too. But we liked Psych better. White Collar. And how did we watch these? We went to the library. We got them on anyway, or online. NCIS. I've never seen Dexter, but Allison told me that he would watch. Said Dexter was a little bit on the dark side. So, um, anyway, that was part of the list, and that we were just trying to put together, all of us. The point is I'm sure he would watch Agatha Christie. He liked anything to do with a mystery where you had to be the PI and to discover who did it, how did they do it, in what room did they do it. And it's so interesting that I never was interested in that. Rob was never interested in that, and here we have been made our son's um, chief investigator. And so I need to go back and watch some of these shows again. Some of them I would watch just to be with the boys, just to watch it with the boys and know what's going on and have conversation. But he loved it. And so he wanted to go into the criminal investigative field, and our discussion in Korea, um, that sometime that and I'm going to be honest, got a little heated because I did not want him to join. I did not want him to join the military. And, we offered him $10,000 right away that we would give him, find a way, make a way, to go to a different school, um, to start his education, on law enforcement. That was the talk. That was absolutely the talk. I was like, you don't need to go in the military to get into law enforcement. Okay. You don't need to get into the military. And, but he wanted to serve. He wanted to pay his way. He wanted to serve because of my dad. My dad was a big influence, on him in this. Um, that's why he went ADA, because my dad was ADA. I was born at White Sands. Um, so that was, you know, he just wanted to make his way, and he felt that, he could be a blessing to the military, and the military could also teach him something, right? Teach him, um, law enforcement. And so when Richard got to Bliss, he absolutely enrolled. And the classes that we're told that he took and that we're trying to verify, but what we were told is criminology, sociology, and psychology. And um, yeah, so he was on the path, for uh, law enforcement. Law enforcement. So he was, 18 years when he joined, 18 years old. He had 12 credit hours, college credit hours that he had earned, through CLEP, Klepping College Math, Klepping, College German. And he took joining the military very seriously because he was a distinguished honor graduate, for his cycles and basic training, and also advanced individual training. He was number one. And so he was really excited. My mom and dad, they had gone to Fort Sill to see his graduation. We were in the process of moving after 20 years, moving back to the United States. And we weren't on the military dime. Um, that's a long story, but we, had to come back on our own. And um, so that was a feat to, close up an apartment in Germany and our home in Ireland and sell it, um, and get back. So my parents, I called them up and said, "Can you go to Richard's graduation?" And they, got in their car and they went. They went to Oklahoma. They went to Fort Sill, and they said he was so excited because, um, of his accomplishment as distinguished honor graduate. So when he got to Fort Bliss, we know that he took these classes. And that, so for someone to say to us, "Hey, he was a student at Park," that was not really shocking for us at all. Um, we knew that was going on. What we didn't like is that the smear campaign on Richard never never told the public about who Richard is. And they made him out to be a criminal. And it was so insane because he wanted to be law enforcement. And they were making him out to be a criminal. And you don't get so excited about your accomplishments of Distinguished Honor Graduate for Basic Training and AIT and get to Fort Bliss and sign up for criminal law enforcement courses that you would need for forensics and all that stuff, right? Um, and then, you know, spend your time in ways that the CID, that the PAO, do you want to hear about your son? What they were trying to portray him as. It was insane. And they have you, they have you in their clutches because the very people that are attacking your son, that are hindering the search for Richard, because that's absolutely what was happening. They were doing everything backwards that a CID agent would do if they really, or a command would do, or a PAO would do to search for Richard. And anything that was positive was like pulling teeth and was with a half of a heart, right? With half of a heart, hands tied behind their back, whatever you want to call it. They were in a mode of cover up. They were not interested in looking for Richard truly, really. Okay? They were in distress. They were in distress. And they were making all of Fort Bliss in distress. And absolutely they were. Because of the COVID mess, because of the covering up what happened to Richard. And now today, well, not today, it's been a while. We've been looking into this. The intel is telling us that Richard participated in an internship with none other than the Fort Bliss CID, Criminal Investigative Division. Now, that is like full of emotion, right? Full of emotion. So we've engaged in contacting hopefully the right people that would be willing to give us Richard's academic records from Park University. But Ann Ogle could tell us. Thomas Cain could tell us. Soto could tell us. Tavita Nusa, now he's off doing his thing. He could tell us. Lalani could tell us. But we want to hear it from Park. But can you imagine the lies, the level of lies in all of this? Because don't forget that one of our key witnesses says Tavita Nusa is implicated in the demise of our son. A CID special agent of that very office on Fort Bliss is implicated in the demise of our son along with Leilani Hart. We have a criminal complaint out for Leilani Hart. El Paso Matters saw to, understands, because of our communication, that what they did in the media was to hinder and interfere in our son's case by giving false legitimacy to Leilani Hart. Because whatever happened, she's not legitimate. Whatever happened, she's got some explaining to do. And it's not to me. It's not to me. But we have a key witness that implicates her and Tavita Nusa as special agent. And it always, this whole Clem Coward, the Major General Clem Coward, that did the Gomar for Richard, that was absolutely, we read the Gomar and we're like, what? This was absolutely a hit job. There's nothing here. There's nothing here. Right? And, all these rumors, why he would do that to Richard, why he would call off the search for Richard, the investigate, because the whole search and investigation of Richard did not happen until September 1st, 2020. That's when the official beginning of the CID investigation got involved in Richard's case. September 1st, 2020. He went missing the 22nd, 23rd of July, 2020. And they didn't start until the 1st because of us calling, and how do we know that? Because Director Ford of the CID, the new modern or outside, it's not outside, it's not modern or whatever, that took over for Major General Donna Martin, who now is Lieutenant General Donna Martin of IG. She's in charge of IG. Please write her a letter. Please write her a letter. Ask her to do the right thing, not for our sake, because I know that, and I can't apologize for it. She acted criminally. Okay? She's acted criminally. But maybe even with me calling her out, she will do the right thing for her own sake, for her own legacy, for her future stand in front of God, for our country's sake, right? For every service member's sake. Because that stage task force, Find Richard Halliday, where they all sat around like mannequins, and she put a chair in the middle of the room. They were in civilian clothing, and she put which makes it unofficial, and they didn't even have an op board. They didn't even have a leader, and she just sat in the middle of the room on a chair, Indian style, in civilian clothing. If that, we've had to stay so patient through this whole thing. But it makes sense now because she was CID. She was CID, and she was, how did Richard get to know Tavita Nusa and Leilani Hart? Well, one, they were having an affair, right? That was the report from the intel, that they were having an affair, and it was confirmed when I talked to James Hart, saying, "Oh yeah," and they're cousins, that was added in, but Richard doing an internship in the CID on Fort Bliss with Tavita Nusa. What was he? That was his point of contact. That was his oversight agent. I mean, it was at his mentor, his park connection. Who was on the other side of that in park? Was it Thomas Cain? Was it Ann Ogle? Was it Anna Whitehead? Was it someone else? Because I know that the courses that Richard, um, sociology, psychology, criminology, that would be Anne Ogle and Thomas Cain, right? So okay, so here we have COVID stuff going on, the height of it, the whole election, the whole political mess, because that was all political, political and crimes against humanity, right? Crimes against humanity that, um, wow. I'm thinking back at during that time, and it is just really crazy because that was also Vanessa Guillen's time. And Richard is known as the Vanessa Guillen First Absent Soldier, or the first CONUS Deaths 1 missing soldier under the new Vanessa Guillen Absent Soldier flowchart. We've kind of shortened it. We decided it's easier if I just say the Vanessa Guillen First Absent Soldier. Um, but in July, the first days of July, Vanessa Guillen's body was, um, the findings were announced. Okay, because I think it was June 30th that her remains were found. Her burnt, severed, cut up, dismembered, um, sexually, uh, was it harassed, assaulted, bludgeoned, you name it, lime poured on her, concrete poured on her. But at the beginning of July, they announced to the world that that was indeed her remains that they found, and it was pretty crazy. It was pretty crazy over there at Fort Hood in the CID. And here comes Richard, a CID intern that gets murdered. Um, I think that there would be definitely motive to cover it up, motive for Clem Coward to cover it up, motive for Marlon Soto to cover it up, um, and Tavita Nusa was lost his badge, right? Um, but for Marlon Soto to be in that meeting, and I am reporting that there are leaks and everything, um, and the connections with so many of these people, it really, the puzzle pieces fit. The puzzle pieces are fitting together. And uh, what does it take? You have to have someone in mortuary affairs. You have to have someone that knows how to cut up a body. You have to have the DES. You have to have people there at Park that don't want anyone to know. You have to have the VA. You have to have the command. You have to have um, CPS. You have to have CPS, and you have to understand Anna Ogle absolutely has a huge connection with Child Protective Services and with the CID. I mean, the CID complaints, because she oversees those complaints. And were some of those complaints about Park University, what was going on there? If people want to keep their jobs, if you can see how it would all happen, that so many people could conspire together to cover this up, because so many jobs are at stake here, and a huge shaking up of Fort Bliss is right there in front of our eyes. It So you have a lot of motive here. Um, how Dallas Hart is part of this, how James Hart is part of this, how Jay Pollan is part of this. Well, Jay Pollan's good friends with Ron Steeg. How they are, all part of this. And, you know, uh, Jay Pollan was also working on Fort Bliss. And so the March hospital is very interesting, especially with Jay Pollin's connections with the CID. Everything, everything fits. So I think we just um, went through a light barrier, a sound barrier, um, and the reports of polygamy for James Hart. Um, I think that is almost a little compared to Richard being retaliated against, tortured, murdered, dismembered, covered up uh, by the CID with the help of the FBI, with the help of the command, with the help of CPS, with the help of Park University, with the help of DES, with the help of the JAG, and more. It makes you absolutely speechless. How heartless, how cold blooded is Fort Bliss. And, for Thomas Cain to let us know they're working outside of the law. Yes, they are. And they're dragging so many outside of the law with them. All of our law enforcement. Think about the military police guard mount. This was an orchestrated cover up. An orchestrated cover up using military operations against us, which is a total crime. But, if you're going to commit crimes against humanity, it's like then everything's okay. Everything, I can do anything. If I can commit crimes against humanity, oh well, then I can do anything else to anybody else. Um, so the military operations against us for all of this, the asymmetric warfare tactics, absolutely. The Hardy Hay, the Phil, PI, Phil, um, what was his last name? Um, Waters, Phil Waters. And, to see Special Agent Veltri respond the way she is, a forensic expert that hasn't even been to the crime scene. Um, don't forget about the canine episode. Don't forget about Nadal Baim, the command going along with this to protect the CID, to protect Park University. I mean, of course, Thomas Cain wants to protect Park University. He has a cushy job there. Of course, he wants to protect um, his name, his job, because he's supposed to secure Fort Bliss, and he failed. And the same thing with, and there's other conflicts of interest, y'all, that I haven't even told you about. So many conflicts of interest. And why, this CPS, we were told, oh, it's nothing. It was just about Boleyn. No, the CPS complaints weren't about Boleyn. If they were just about Boleyn, they would have absolutely given those to us with our FOIA requests that we've had for 2 years. They would have thrown her under the bus so fast for their own sake. But they're much bigger than just Boleyn. And I don't think that's right that they would throw her under the bus. And that's why I've tried as, and I know it's hard, y'all. It's so hard. And I've been told to be harsher with her. But when I found out how old she is and the situation that she has been put through, and my hero is Theodora, um, and I'm not comparing the two of them. I'm just saying when you're groomed from such a young age and no one has mercy, I don't want to be cold blooded. She's a young mother, two children. Maybe she has a third right now. I don't know. But I don't want to be cold blooded. And you have to remember from the beginning, over and over and over again, we were telling Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, we want immunity. We want to work together with the military. We want to work together with the perpetrators. We want our son. We want our son. And we will offer immunity. And we got a lot of backlash for saying that we would offer immunity. We did because we knew that the lies were so big coming in that they were covering up something really big. The smear campaign, the behind the scenes retaliation that we were getting, the conduct of the investigation was so botched. It was so botched. The personal items that we got from Richard and them saying, "Oh, we don't have his computer or his phone or his car. Or this, the car was this, all this stuff." We knew it was stinky. We knew it was all stinky. We knew it was botched. We didn't know what was on purpose, what was just a dereliction of duty, what was just uh, bad mojo, just, like a Jay Pollan, um, just survival of the fittest and just, I don't know, bravado that went astray, went awry, or careless hate, you know. They, they're careless, they're haters, and then they say, "But I loved my troops." And you're like, "What?" You're delusional. You're delusional. Absolutely. And so, but you're not allowed to say that because these very people are the ones that have answers to help you find your son. And so you have to be very, we were just like, okay, let's just be patient. Let's just be patient and see what happens. But we knew that something was going on, and we're like, okay, look, let's put out there that we want immunity for the perpetrators. So immunity would be for Marlon Soto, would be for Tavita Nusa, would be for whoever's in that CID office, like Ron Steeg, who is connected, Leilani Hart. And how does Dallas Hart fit into all of this? How does, Thomas Cain fit into all of this? How does Ann Ogle fit into all of this? How does the person over there at CPS, along with, working with Ann Ogle, fit in with all of this? How does Anna a Whitehead fit into all of this? How does the command fit into all of this? Um, and this, of course, they had apt people, trained people. They dismembered Richard. They dismembered his remains. And they didn't put him in the same location. And they tampered with his remains. They did more, y'all. This is what the intel is saying, and this is why haven't we gotten an official response for these autopsies, for this medical examiner, for the numbers, for the information that we're getting. And here we're getting information that Richard did an internship with the CID there on Fort Bliss. And we absolutely know that he wanted to be CID. We have it. It's documented. His inquiry into this, how to become a CID, and then them telling him, you have to be a military police, you have to go into law enforcement, right? You can go two ways, you can go. So he was searching. He decided to go the college route. Okay, if y'all have any questions, I'll be glad to answer. Thank you, Danielle, for coming on. We really appreciate it. Please pass this information around. Look, we're at 1,111 days. Any kind of shares we're very grateful for, because this is what they count on, that they can just string you along, lie to you, block you, and then everyone just forgets, and they get away with murder. They get away with crimes against humanity. They get away with destroying our beautiful Fort Bliss. Fort Bliss is beautiful. I don't know why, being right there on the mountains, why Fort Bliss has Fort Bliss. I think it's these underground tunnel things, and why it's on prime property. Why can't it be somewhere else and let the city of El Paso develop that land in a better way? But, I love El Paso. What a great place. And it's the likes of these that are grooming criminals, grooming predators, and placing them in our law enforcement, in our CID, in high places like a VA board that determines if you get your disability or not. That places them as professors in universities that are, supposed to be mentoring and teaching quality education to our young people. That put these predators, these criminals, as commanders. That they put these predators and criminals into the JAG. They put them into the CPS. They put them over the psychological health of the children of a military institution, a military installation. And I know I'm missing certain agencies here, but they put the predator and the criminal in charge of the security of Fort Bliss. And here my son wants to go, thinking, he wants to be a law enforcer, and he's going to get some mentoring through the military, through the university, through the law enforcement institution itself, and he's getting criminal predators. And so there is a journal somewhere, because in this internship, and I've been told about a journal, and I'm like, okay, whatever. I've just missed it. But now with this reading about this internship, they have to keep a journal. They have to keep a journal. What's in this journal? Is it the CID complaints? Is it the CPS complaints? Because I want to tell you a little story that I've told before about our boys. Um, Rob, I was with the girls somewhere, and Rob took the boys to work. He had to, it was, yeah, it was on Nachrichten Kaserne. It was at the hospital right there, and it's now no longer there, the Kaserne. Um, they've taken it down. They didn't take down the church, thank God. Um, but they took down the hospital building and everything that Rob used to work in. And it was the American installation right there in Heidelberg, Germany. And he had to go into work. I think it was he was off, but he went in, or I don't know how it was. But he took the boys with him, and there was this apple tree outside of his office building. And it was all secured, so he told the boys, just play around here, and I'll do what I need to do, and I'll be back. And so they picked up a stick and they started using the apples as baseballs. And one would put pitch to the other, and the other would smash it all apart, right? And the apple would go all over the place. Well, the colonel, a female colonel, walked by and went up to them and said, "Who are your parents? Who are your parents that you're doing this?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, my dad's right up there." So she took him up there, took the boys up there, and they had to, you know, uh, your sons were playing baseball with apples. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, okay, I'm sorry." Um, so it was all okay. And the boys were having to sit there, and Rob had this whiteboard, and he said, "Here, you can draw on the whiteboard. Here's the eraser and everything." And so he goes, "I'm only going to be a few more minutes." And so when he came back, the boys had this map drawn out, and it was their plan. Their plan. Oh, I shouldn't even say it anyway. Um, their plan to report the colonel for, ruining their fun. They were having a good time out there. Um, it wasn't right, but they were having a good time. Anyway, so they had devised this plan. And when I heard about this journal, I was thinking, oh my gosh, was Richard writing down how he was going to report even more to the CID, what he was doing, what he observed in the CID, um, because the emergency intake center, something wrong was going on there, y'all. You don't have 85,000 to 100,000 unaccounted for minors with a problem in human trafficking and child sex trafficking, um, and that happening, right? You don't have a cover up the way you have the barracks flush with weapons, um, the barracks being a marketplace for illegal drugs, the frat parties every day being allowed, the SOPs being totally ignored for sign in and sign out, that, there's people sleeping and living in the barracks with soldiers all the time. I mean, I've heard that I don't know how many times. And then it was, a mountain of comments when the 14-year-old was found living in the barracks with the soldier being prostituted out. Um, there was, oh yeah, that happens all the time. This is not an isolated event. So, and then with the colonel, that was lately, and it's just with all this other big news, it gets overshadowed. But the colonel saying that he did a health and welfare check, and there were what 70 weapons or 46 weapons, and um, two dogs and a snake that was dead, and all in one company in the barracks. And that, if they would just speak up and hand over their guns, they wouldn't get in trouble. There would be immunity for that or whatever. um y'all, and yeah, Fort Bliss is working outside of the law. The command is working outside of the law. And that's why we haven't been able to get answers for Richard, because they've been working outside the law when it comes to this case. And it doesn't change our question. Our question is, where's our son? Where's our son? You can't just have a missing soldier from the barracks room and nobody asks questions and the media stays quiet. Why? They don't have to like me. This is a soldier that goes missing out of the barracks room. They don't have to like my politics. And they don't even know my politics. They don't have to like my views on the moon. They don't have to like my views on COVID. They don't have to like it. This is a soldier. This is a soldier that the American people have entrusted so many to care for, and have poured all kinds of resources into these people, into these positions to care for our volunteer sons and daughters. And they're treating them like it's just a commodity, or it's just, disposable. Well, my son is not disposable. Where is my son? And I totally have understood through all of this that he was targeted, that he was tortured. I haven't even been able to, when we get to the bottom of this, I'll finally be able to grieve. To hold back, to try to stay even on this path, is torture too. Because you hear your son's being dismembered, and we have pictures of these weapons now. We were given pictures of weapons, these cutting tools and everything, saying, this is what killed your son. So we're getting this intel. We'll go through that and let everyone know if there's something to that. There's so much information coming in. This is not a cold case. And we're going to start criminal complaints. And this came in. But we're going to start criminal complaints ASAP for all of the silence, because we want to know what happened to our son, and we've had to find out all this information ourselves, and now not ourselves, but without the help of our very expensive agencies that are supposed to be defending the Constitution, the land, and the people, supposed to be defending and securing our service members. And we've had to do this with Team Farm Richard Halliday, up against our own dime, right? It's our own dime that we're up against, that are covering up, that are paying off this media to not cover Richard's story. Because let me tell you, the media should be saying, hey, Richard was an intern for the CID, and the CID, there's a witness that is an officer of the court that says the CID special agent is implicated in the demise of this soldier, in the murder of this soldier, in the dissemination of this soldier. This is our dime that is going that Thomas Cain fears to lose. It's our dime that Park University fears to lose. It's our dime that the command fears to lose because they want the star, which means more dimes from us, right? A bigger retirement. They want our dimes, but they don't want to fulfill their part of the covenant, that they have to defend the Constitution, the land, and the people, that they have to uphold the rule of law and not work outside of it. And now we have intel coming in about weapons that were used on Richard, or these are supposedly where these weapons are coming from. It's all kind of the same. And that, people in Richard's case are engaged in bigamy. Okay, so they're engaged in incest, they're engaged in pedophilia, they're engaged in leaving their best friend's children with predators so that they can be sexually assaulted in my master bedroom. But my friend won't mind when we get back that she has to take her children to the hospital. I mean, who are these people? And, oh, well, if my son has to be on drugs to get him through, his sexual assaulting and sexual assault perpetrated on him, his grooming, if he has to take drugs, if he has to become an alcoholic, if there's a risk of suicide, well, I'll wait 10 years before I report anything. I mean, what is that? And then I'm supposed to be not looking for my son? No, thank you. I don't want their ideology. I have my biblical Christian ideology. I don't want theirs because I don't want to not think about my children and their future and their true health and welfare. I want them to be successful. I want them to have progeny. Let me have my grandchildren. Let them have their own families and their own successes. And I can rejoice in that. I don't want them drunk and on the verge of suicide and on drugs and nightmares in the nighttime and then committing these sexual cult atrocities and perpetuating this kind of crime, this kind of hell. That's hell on earth. And they want to do it on our dime because they want to abuse the system. They want to have the disability paycheck. They want to have the military retirement paycheck, the VA paycheck, the Park University paycheck, the JAG, all of the perks, all of the privileges, while they're breaking the covenant. Be careful, though, because people are evil sneaks who will misguide you and send you false fake pictures and cause a circle rat race, and it all could be false info sent or given, except for I know who's sending me these things. And our intel, I told you that we have an alliance now. We have an alliance. We have intel coming out of Fort Bliss. And These pictures that I have are from Lilani Hart. Y'all, there have been snakes from the very beginning. Big snakes. Big snakes. And and they knew. They knew. Meetings upon meetings, rallies upon rallies, phone call upon phone call, begging them. And, there came a point there that we had to take a break. That we were like, you know, uh, Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, do not come. We don't need to hear um, your cover up, your insanity, your attempts to try to manipulate this case. Because clearly, that's exactly what he was sent to do. And he lockstep to that against a service member. Against a service member, army of one. All service members. And pray for Fort Hood, Fort Cavazos, because he is the commanding general there. And I feel for them. Because he's up to no good. He's up to no good. And in my opinion, he needs to be arrested. McConville, he was allowed to walk away. In my book, he should never have been allowed to walk away. There needs to be lots of court martials. Serious court martials. And because if we don't restrain this evil, if we don't establish justice again with our Department of Justice, it can't be just a department. We need a Department of Justice. If we don't do it, the cancer, the pollution, whatever you want to call it, it's spreading, y'all. And we're missing out on so many wonderful, beautiful blessings because we are infiltrated in the mildew, in the pollution, in the cancer, in the whatever you want to call it. And I don't want any family to have to go through this. So thank you so much. And thank you, Kat. Um, you know, I don't think this CID internship is misguiding us because we know that Richard was pursuing this. Absolutely. We know. And when the puzzle pieces fit together, but we'll see. We'll see. We're absolutely aware of being misguided, and we have our requests already in. Uh, we did that real quick, and so we're awaiting a response, and we will let everyone know. I'm a little full of vim and vigor tonight myself because of this. It's like a protection to get through, the breaking of a sound barrier. You have to protect yourself. And so thank you for being patient with me. Thank you so much. We love you for coming on and sticking with us. And please share and all the sharing that you do. We are very, very grateful. And I'll be back tomorrow, God willing.